Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Welcome, everybody. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us. That was one of the best intros I think we've ever had on the Vegas Take before. 20 seconds of dead air. That's okay. Welcome.
More like a minute.
Welcome to the show. We appreciate everybody joining us. Unfortunately, you missed my amazing intro because my microphone wasn't on. No, it really wasn't that amazing. But welcome to the show, everybody. A lot to get to, a lot to go over. Sharp and Shapiro, glad you could join us. We got some fun guests lined up for you today. Particularly a guy that I have loved from America's Got Talent, a guy who won, and he's been doing a show on the Strip for a while now. Terry Fader, he is awesome. There's a little bit of a, I'm not going to say controversy, maybe you could call it that. He had a Donald Trump puppet in his act, and now it is gone. We're going to ask him a little bit about that, what's going on there. Coming up in hour number 3, also Mike Babcock from TMZ Sports is going to be joining us. A lot to get to with him. It is our Dirty Dining segment. What are the you always hear about great restaurants, right? What are the restaurants that you should be going to? Well, how about the restaurants that you should be avoiding? Darcy Spears from ABC 13 is going to be joining us talking a little bit about that. We're going to get to these red flag laws and this organization that wants to ban all red flag laws in the state of Nevada. It's absurd. We're going to get to that coming up in hour number 2 as well. Also, Donald Trump supporters outside in one of his rallies saying there's going to be a civil war if he's not reelected. It's just absolutely ridiculous. So we'll get to all that stuff. A loaded, jam-packed show lined up for you today. I want to start with this, though. Last night, we were able to see the movie Richard Jewell. It was like a pre-screening of the movie, so to speak. It's out in theaters on Friday. I was really looking forward to seeing this movie. And if you don't know what it is, it's a movie that is directed by Clint Eastwood. It is a true story about the, I believe it was the 96 Olympics bombing in Atlanta. And this guy, Richard Jewell, is a security guard. This is a true story, by the way, based on a true story. This guy, Richard Jewell, is a security guard. And he's just walking around the area, and all of a sudden there's this backpack there, and he sees, a police officer identifies it as a bomb. It goes off. Tragically, I believe one person lost her life, and over 100 people were injured. And it's a movie, a portrayal about how the media and the FBI, in a way, ruined this guy's life and ruined his family's life, claiming that he was the bomber. And it was actually quite the opposite. Not only did he have nothing to do with the bombing, this guy, Richard Jewell, but he was a hero. He saved lives. The real Richard Jewell died several years back. I believe, actually, he died a little longer than that. I think it was in 2007. He lost his life at the age of 44. But this was a hero, and I have no doubt that all the stress that he went through with him and his family took a toll on his life. I mean, obviously, he was not in very good shape. He was a man that was overweight. But really a sad story about what this poor guy had to go through. I thought Clint Eastwood did a fantastic job directing this movie. I thought the acting was fantastic. The actor who plays Richard Jewell, I thought was fantastic. I thought Sam Rockwell, who plays Richard Jewell's attorney, was fantastic. All in all, I thought it was a great movie. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was one of the better movies that I've seen in several years. I thought it was that good. It was really good. So certainly go out there and check it out. However, there is a controversy with this movie. And I'll tell you what it is. I don't think it's much of a controversy, but the movie is facing backlash now because the paper that I guess you could say this journalist, it's portrayal of Kathy Scruggs. She's the journalist involved in the coverage of the 96 park bombing. She's the one who released information from the FBI to the press saying that this guy, Richard Jewell, was a suspect. She's the one who released the information. And there was a lot of speculation on how she got this information, and the movie portrays it as this, that she got the information from an FBI agent and she slept with him to get the information. Now, Clint Eastwood doesn't know if that's true or not. Nobody knows for sure whether that's true or not. It's a movie. It's salacious. Doesn't mean everything in the movie has to be true, but I will say this. To think that this has never happened in the media before, and I'm talking about men too, not just women, to think that this has never happened in the media before where somebody sleeps with somebody for a favor or a tip, you are mistaken, my friend. I was a reporter for 10 years. I'm not going to say who, but I know of at least one reporter, female reporter in this town that has had physical relationships with higher-ups. I'm not going to say who. I'm not going to say where. But I know that for a fact because I know that from the actual source. So this has happened before in the media where a woman or a man, not just necessarily saying a woman, will sleep with someone for information. In this case, it was an FBI agent. Now, this is what Clint Eastwood is portraying in the movie. I don't see anything wrong with it. And if Kathy Scruggs, the journalist, wants to say, I didn't sleep with anyone, I was doing my due diligence, then fine, she has the right to do that. I don't think that the movie can be sued for that. There's also a disclaimer at the end. Not everything in this movie is true. So John Hamm plays the FBI agent in this movie. He's the one that sleeps with this reporter and gives her information. He was asked about that on the red carpet on Tuesday. He said, it's my understanding that the people that are making these accusations at the paper haven't even seen the film yet. He also said that the film pulled details from a book of the event. He says, I kind of feel like the irony in that is sort of ridiculous. Kathy is portrayed by Olivia in this film as she was, which is an incredibly nuanced individual. To reduce her to this one thing is not fair. He also says, I think that there were certainly suggestions of impropriety with her character, but not just her character, with my character as well. So I really don't have a problem with that. I don't think it's a controversy. It's probably better for the movie because it gets more of the movie's name out there, and it's a good movie. It deserves it. A spokesperson in the movie said that a disclaimer will be visible at the end of the film as is standard for fact-based stories. So I don't have anything really more to say other than this was a good movie. I thought it was well done. I enjoyed it. Had some funny moments. Had some emotional moments. I thought the acting was fantastic. Clint Eastwood is an icon. Say what you want about his politics. He's an icon. He's a legendary actor, filmmaker. He's one of the few that are left as far as I'm concerned. And I thought, I'm not going to say it was a masterpiece, but certainly an above-average movie. I really enjoyed it, and I love Sam Rockwell. I can't recall a Sam Rockwell movie that I didn't enjoy. Fantastic actor, and like I said, the guy who plays Richard Jewell, I thought did a fantastic job. I mean, this was Richard Jewell. I'm looking at this guy, the way he talks, the way he looks, the way he acts. This was Richard Jewell. He was incredible performance by him, and I think he could win an award. I thought he really was that good. Anyway, I went with our friend C-Win. Friend of the show, and our producer, Jason Stein. And I know Jason is chomping at the bits here in studio, wanted to give his thoughts on the film. So, Jason, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to do this without really spoiling anything for anybody because it comes out Friday. But I think, first of all, conservatives will love this movie. And the reason that I think conservatives will love this movie is because I thought it was, even though it's a true story and it's a good story, I think it was one big political statement by Clint Eastwood, who, of course, we know is a Republican. Remember, he did that whole chair skit at the 2012 Republican convention that he got all that crap for. But anyway, he's a well-known conservative person. And listen, he could tell a billion stories. He could do any story he wants. He's a famous director, and he chose this story. It's the story of the federal government, FBI, and the media, the left-wing media, conspiring to destroy a man's life. And this man, Richard Jewell, is just an everyday, ordinary American living in the middle of nowhere, rural Georgia. There's even a scene where the FBI takes his guns away from him, which, of course, is part of the investigation. But Clint Eastwood made a point of showing that. Now, the other thing that I didn't like about it, other than the fact that I thought it was a political statement, is that the film had too much comic relief. Now, this is, I remember the 96 bombing. I remember this man's life was ruined. It was very serious. People died. He never recovered from the incident, and it's a serious story, and yet there's a lot of laughing in the movie. The scenes between him and his attorney, Sam Rockwell, are comical. Comic relief is good. A little bit of levity is good when you're telling a serious story. But this was like, at points, I thought I was watching a comedy. I mean, the audience was rolling. Okay. The audience was laughing their heads off.
I completely disagree with you.
For most of the movie.
All right, so let me...
So I did not like that.
Let me comment on a couple of things you said. Let me start with the, why right-wingers will like it. First of all, you said left-wing media. That word was never used in this movie. Politics was never used in this movie. Now, if you want to make your own and form your own opinion, I can tell you right now, the media, and I am not on the right, the media at times destroys people's lives. They do it all the time. And you know why they do it? They do it because it sells papers. CNN does it, and Fox News does it. That's not a left-wing conspiracy. That's a media conspiracy. Fox News does the same thing that CNN does. Right-wing newspapers do the same thing that left-wing newspapers did. And I thought Clint Eastwood did. Now, I know...
It's a true story. I agree.
I don't care about Clint Eastwood's politics. No politicians were raised here. No, the NRA, all this stuff. The bottom line is the media, not the left-wing media, the media played a role in ruining this man's life. I don't see that as a political statement. I see that as a media issue and a problem in this country on both sides. I didn't, and listen, if I thought that Clint Eastwood was going after the left, I would be the first one on the radio right now talking about that. I didn't portray that. Also, Jason, this is a movie. It's also about entertainment. There were some funny parts to the movie. And by the way, I didn't think every 2 minutes there was a big laugh. However, I'll give you an example. Members of the media were calling Richard Jewell homosexual, okay? Richard Jewell could have faced life in prison, possibly the death penalty, but it seemed like what bothered him more than anything else was that he was being portrayed as a homosexual. So there's a scene with his attorney where he says, "Please tell them I'm not gay." And that's funny. It was a funny moment. And there were several moments in the movie that were funny. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of laughter in a movie.
I just said that.
Okay, but you're making...
my opinion was it was too much.
Okay, well, I disagree with you 150%. You're entitled to your opinion, but I disagree with you. Okay, the problem I have is when people in movie theaters share their opinions during the movie and speak about it, and you were doing that, and I thought it was completely ridiculous behavior. And since we're going to talk about this, we might as well be honest. I'm always honest with my personal life. There was a lady sitting in front of us, and there was a scene in the movie where the FBI, you were talking a little bit about it, takes all the things out of Richard Jewell's home, and he lives with his mom. And the mom was like, "You're taking all my Tupperware, blah, blah, blah." She's freaking out. And by the way, the real mom was freaking out and cried a lot, and I feel horrible for her. So there's a very symbolic scene at the end of the movie where Richard Jewell is found, innocent, and they're not investigating him anymore. And this is symbolic because the FBI is going back to the house and dropping off all the stuff. So you decide to say, "Oh, wow, the mom's getting her Tupperware back. Ooh." But you don't say that in your head.
Right.
You say it out loud where everyone around us can hear. So an elderly lady in front of us says, "Shut up." By the way, I think she was in the right to tell you to shut up. So you returned the favor by saying, "Why don't you shut up? You've been laughing throughout the whole movie."
That's right.
Well, I thought it was ridiculous.
I know your feelings on it.
So you think
now
that's
there's a separate
behavior.
issue. Okay, so now I've given my movie review, and now I'm going to give you my review of being in a movie theater, which I know a lot of people can probably relate to. Okay, first of all, the actors cannot hear you. It is not live theater.
So what?
No, hang on. Let me finish my point. I'm not one of your callers. Let me.
No, you're right.
Let me finish.
Your behavior was much worse last night than my callers. You're right.
Worse than Brady?
Yes. Your
So
behavior.
anyway,
your behavior was ridiculous.
The actors on the screen cannot hear you. This is not live theater. Okay, your applause. Okay, you want to applaud in a movie theater drives me nuts. Okay, actors can't hear you. This crowd, for some reason, I don't know who the hell this crowd was. I guess these
the
were
only
people.
time there was
these are people who got free
was,
tickets.
There was light applause. There was light applause.
There was gasping
seconds.
and oohs and ahs and gasping.
So what? People are getting into the movie. They're enjoying
It's
it. What
ridiculous.
the hell is? You just don't like it when people are having more fun than you. You're miserable.
No,
sometimes.
I don't like it when people are unsophisticated and stupid.
You have the attitude that you're better than everybody else.
That's
Let
right.
me tell you, my friend, you're not better than everybody else. Everybody has a right to enjoy the movie.
Someone brought a baby in there. There was sneezing and coughing. I hate it. I'm not going to movies anymore. I'm not
Sneezing and coughing. What is wrong with you?
What's wrong with me? I shouldn't go to movies, and I
Okay, Campaign is our videographer here.
Really?
Campaign, help me out here.
Well, first of all, you guys ruined the whole movie for everybody. We all know what happens now.
We know the
Second
story.
of all right. You shouldn't go to the movies. Like you said, you just shouldn't. I said, he has a lot of estrogen, and right now,
Campaign, I hate to cut you off.
Yes.
And I want to let you continue, but we have a very special guest on the line right now. I didn't tell him to call in, but he's calling in because he is an eyewitness to what took place last night.
I need that.
Right, and he has no life, and he listens to our show every morning.
I would say Chris certainly does have a life, and he's a good guy. And Chris would never behave the way you behaved in the theater last night. I am going to defend my friend. So, Chris, you open up a can of worms here. Chris decided to call in, and
good for him.
I'm going to give him a chance to respond. Chris, you were with us at the movie last night. Please tell me what you saw, and do you think Jason's behavior was inappropriate?
All right, gentlemen, again, great Thursday to you. Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to weigh on first on the whole Stein thing. I was going to weigh in on his opinion as far as the movie's concerned. Now, look, here's the deal, okay? I watched that movie, and and just like you, Brian, I'm not someone who is a right-winger by any stretch of the imagination, right?
Right.
And I wasn't watching that movie and saying to myself, you know what? This is a political statement by Clint Eastwood. We all know what Clint Eastwood represents. We all know what, his political beliefs are. But when I was watching that film, I'm sitting back and just trying to enjoy the film. I'm not thinking about any political statement that was being made. And like you, Stein, and like you, Brian, and like you, Campaign, I'm sure, I do remember the bombing as well, too. And I remember how, he was portrayed in the media and how he was portrayed basically nationwide, right, as far as the whole bombing was concerned. So the movie was about about Richard Jewell. And, it was coming from a perspective of, he was a guy who got railroaded, who was innocent, but the FBI had a profile of him. And so the FBI stance was that, this guy was absolutely somebody that could have committed that bombing. So while I don't blame the FBI for having that perspective on him, it was obviously a story about somebody that was, wrongfully accused.
So, okay. So all right. So long story short, you agree with me.
Long story short, I don't think it was. I didn't look at that movie and say, "Oh yeah, this is a political statement of and this is all about the American government trying to take your gun."
All right, let's get to the more.
As far as like Stein and Stein, what happened as far as that? All I have to say about that is, you got to admit, Stein, it was a little strange. Like it was. I thought of it as a little bit odd the way that he was acting. Simple as that. I mean, it was strange. I thought. So
I was annoyed. I admit that, but
because you did have thoughts in your head, right, Stein? That you had opinions in your head, and instead of like even just whispering them to me or Brian, you decided to speak them out loud in the middle of a theater filled with a lot of people. So that's why I thought it was a little bit weird.
And by the way, we're missing something in the story. He then decided to scream at the top of his lungs in my car driving home when I said he was acting like an a-hole. He decided to go on a 5-minute rant about what a horrendous human being I am.
Right.
So we're leaving that out of the story as well, but we don't have to focus on that.
It's called the pot calling the kettle black, Chris.
I've never done that in the theater before.
No, not in a theater, but you do it in other venues.
Okay, so explain to me a situation where I ruined it for others and did what you did last night in the theater, and we can gladly talk about that, and if I was wrong, I will absolutely admit it to your face right now on the air.
We're sitting there in Laughlin. There's some Minnesota Vikings fans that are watching their team play. Their team scores a touchdown, and they're excited, and they're happy, and they're singing a Viking song, and you're going, your team sucks, your team sucks, you're never going to make the Super Bowl, your team sucks.
And here's the difference. Here's the difference.
That's public.
Okay, so
you're
let me
ruining
respond
somebody's
to that.
good time who's trying to watch the game and enjoy their team.
Let me
if it was
respond
your
to
team,
that.
you'd be happy too.
Okay, so let me respond to
now,
that.
Now you're going to explain to me how it's different.
Do you not want me to respond to that?
Let's hear how it's different. Because it's not a movie theater.
You brought up something. Do you not want me to respond to it, or
go
do
ahead.
you? Okay, thank you. That's right. Why don't you turn your phone off? Why don't you do that first? Jeez. First of all, when we are watching a football game and there's gambling involved and teams root for one another and other teams...
You didn't have action in that game.
Let me finish. Teams root for one another and certain people do not root for the other team. And by the way, you're wrong. I did have action on that game. When you're rooting against a team and a team is cheering and you say shut up or something like that, that is a completely different circumstance and emotions are involved when you're watching a football game and you have a rooting interest for a team than when you're sitting in a movie theater and it's quiet and people are enjoying a film. Don't you dare compare the two because they're completely two complete. And by the way, not one fan, when I did that, told me to shut up. Not one fan was offended. You had a lady that was a senior citizen.
Okay.
No, don't okay me because you know I'm right. There was a lady that is a senior citizen that is sitting in front of us that was so offended. And by the way, I was embarrassed, and she was on the
Obviously.
right. Okay, she had to turn around and tell you to shut up.
Shap and Stein. Hey, guys, both of you guys, let's ask Campaign because Campaign wasn't there. Campaign.
The issue is behavior in public. The issue is Brian is basically trying to say that he would never act like that in public.
Never in a theater.
Well, no.
Never in a theater.
Okay, so it's the sacred movie theater. The sacred movie theater.
Both you guys. Let's ask Campaign.
But it's okay in a restaurant. It's okay in a sports book. It's
Stein,
okay.
of course.
You hear how Brian talks to waiters and waitresses.
Stein, why don't you let Campaign respond?
Jason,
yes,
let me ask
it
Campaign
was.
this question.
Can you turn Chris's mic off?
No.
It was.
Don't turn his mic off.
It was out of line.
Well, you guys are going to let me ask him the question. I was going to ask.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris.
Go ahead, Chris.
So, Campaign, here's a question, okay? Campaign, have you ever been in a movie theater and actually, voiced your displeasure for a film out loud in front of, probably 100 people, patrons inside the movie theater.
All got in for free, by the way.
No.
Free screening.
It's a question for campaign. Go ahead.
No. When I go to movie theaters, we get loud and stuff, but we're along with the movie. We're, I like if I'm watching something, I'm going to get into it, and then I'm commenting at the screen or whatever and all that. I
have you ever gotten a verbal confrontation with another patron?
No,
at
I've
the
never
movie theater?
gotten to a verbal confrontation with it. And like we're all on Stein's head, like we're on Stein's head, but maybe he was feeling something. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, he has a right to express himself, but I don't think that was appropriate. Especially there's like some old lady up in there, and like you're on her head, like bro, like that wasn't the best situation.
Campaign, do you think it's fair to use the analogy of watching a football game and fans over here and I'm over here?
No, but he's trying to defend himself, and he's going to grasp at straws and stuff. When you're wrong, you're the type of person that's not going to admit when you're wrong and stuff. Like you're shaking your head no right now.
Or when the server at the Bagel Cafe brought you the wrong sandwich, and you said, "Hey, you gave me the wrong sandwich." Remember, we had that conversation because because you're being a hypocrite. That's why
I'm a hypocrite.
Okay, the sacred movie theater. I'm wrong. Okay, I was rude in the movie theater. End of story. Period. I was rude. I'm admitting that.
No,
but for you to say that all the times you're rude, those are different times than the movie. That's ridiculous.
We got to take a break.
Bad behavior is bad behavior.
We got to take a break. We got to take a break. We'll be Chris. Thank you for sharing your thoughts.
You guys have a good day. The movie was good. Richard Jewell.
It was a great movie. Thanks for calling in, Chris. We appreciate it. All right, when we come back, no more Richard Jewell and Jason Stein's behavior in movie theaters. When we come back, we're going to be talking about Trump's comments in defending violence. I'll explain what that means coming up next. You are listening to The Vegas Take.